Yo, what it is, you know what it is. It's your man, King Musa. Welcome to the Cheat Sheet, where we decode success for professors, creators, and business owners. I'm your host, King Musa, and today we're diving into the art of science of teaching and learning. Our guest leads the effort to support faculty and students in their educational journey. Joining us today is Dr. Cynthia Kilpatrick, the director of the Center of Teaching and Learning here at Stephen F. Austin State University. Dr. Kilpatrick is dedicated to empowering educators and enhancing the learning experience for students. Let's learn more about her journey and her vision for the future of teaching and learning. Welcome, Dr. Kilpatrick.
Thanks so much, Musa. It's great to be here with you.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome. It is 2025, right? New year. You know, most people would say new me. You know, is that you? Do you have new goals? You know, what's going on with that?
Oh, I have lots of goals.
Right.
None of them are new.
Okay.
But, I have been trying for the last few years, rather than setting specific resolutions or things that I promised myself I'm going to do for like 2 weeks and then I fail and I give up and I turn to something else. For the last few years, what I've been doing is choosing a word for the year that can lead my focus and that can help me set goals along the way. And so my word for the year this year is balance.
Balance.
Yes. I need some balance. I need some work-life balance.
Okay.
I need some balance in what I do and how I feel and the way I play versus the way that I work. And
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I'm all about balance this year.
That's exciting. For me, it's learning not to react, like be less reactive, and just boundaries and limits.
Yeah.
That's really something huge. But balance, I like it.
Yeah, me
Yes,
too.
ma'am. So let's go ahead and dive in.
Right.
Can you introduce yourself and what you do here at SFA?
Sure. I'm Cindy Kilpatrick. I am the director of the Center for Teaching and Learning. And at the Center for Teaching and Learning, our mission is to support and strengthen teaching and learning across our campus. We want to support our faculty. We want to support our students. So at the CTL, that's what we call the Center for Teaching and Learning, we really focus broadly in 3 areas. So we provide development for faculty. So when new technology comes out or new innovative methods in the classrooms, we want to push those out to our faculty and make sure they're aware of them. So you might remember a couple Christmases ago when ChatGPT hit the airwaves. We had to respond by letting faculty know what AI is and how it's going to affect our classrooms and how we can use it effectively, but also to think about the ethics of that. So that's one of the things we do is those new things that come along, we push it out and want to make faculty aware of how to use it to our advantage, but also to be careful with it. So that's one thing we do, and that's a very important aspect of what we do. A second thing that we do is we support online classes on campus.
Okay.
So anytime an online class is coming online, it goes through a review process with the CTL where we look at it and we make sure it's a high quality class. We make sure that it's a good learning experience for students, and we work with faculty to improve online classes in general.
Yes, ma'am.
And then finally, for students specifically, we run Brightspace support. So when you're in Brightspace and you're like, I have no idea how to submit this assignment, we're the people you call.
Yo, we found her. This is the person who is literally the innovative measure for college. Like, what? AI was a huge thing. So many professors were not for it at all. ChatGPT made people mad. But to know that there's training and somebody's ahead of the curve and knowing what's it's like you're 21 again. I love it. I love it.
21 again.
Yes, man. So before we learn more about that, though, because I have so many questions for that, I want to know a little bit about you. You know, where are you from? You know, where did you go to school? Things like that.
So I consider myself a Texan.
Yes, ma'am.
But I was not technically born in Texas. I was born in Tennessee. But we moved here when I was about 6 years old. I grew up in Texas, so I can call myself a Texan.
Yes, ma'am.
I went back to Tennessee for my undergraduate program. I attended a small liberal arts college in Tennessee. And then I did my master's at UT El Paso, so I was back in Texas.
Yeah.
And I did my PhD at the University of California at San Diego. So I spent a great time on the beach. I still miss it, but I know that Texas is where I need to be. So
did your parents go to college and everything?
So my mom did not. My mom graduated from high school, and that was as far as she went. My dad when he was in his early 20s, felt a call to ministry.
Yeah.
And because of that, he went to college to a seminary.
Yeah.
So he got a bachelor's degree in something related to ministry, and then went and pastored a church in Idaho for a few years.
Yeah.
So I lived in Idaho. I miss that snow still. Maybe we'll get some on Tuesday.
No, keep it in Idaho. We don't want no snow.
Just a little bit. He pastored a church for a while, and then he went back to Tennessee and did a Master of Divinity there. And I have to add, his schooling was so impactful for him that I and all of my sisters went back to the very same college, and we all did our undergrad, or at least part of our undergrad, at the same school that my dad graduated from.
And that's what I'm talking about, because there's first generation students who, their parents didn't go to college, which almost seemed like your situation, but the fact that your dad had that experience gave you something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of students that don't have that, and that's good to hear. Yes, ma'am. Now, when you're not doing this, right? No work. What do you like to do for fun? Hobbies and interests.
Well, you remember I said my word for the year is balance?
Yeah.
It's because I need some balance. I need some hobbies. I need to do some things outside of work. But there are a couple major things I do. So I have a 16-year-old son.
Okay.
And so a lot of what I do is I work with my son on stuff. We just moved to Nacogdoches about 6 months ago.
Okay, welcome,
I was just
welcome.
hired. I started at SFA on July 1st. And so we're still so excited about exploring Nacogdoches and all there is here. I've heard so much about the gorgeous azaleas. So we are looking forward to getting out and doing some hiking and things like that in the area. But we also love to travel.
Yes.
So it feels like it's been a long time since I got on a plane and just went somewhere just for fun. But we love doing that as well. And, around the house, I'd love to say that I love gardening. Yeah. And I do love gardening, but I really am not a good gardener. Yeah. so I can't call that
they
one
don't
my
live
hobby.
too long, huh?
So I've been exploring some little things I can do. I love to read, and so I'm always learning about things. I've tried some diamond painting. Yeah. I've tried just some regular watercolor painting.
Okay.
I've tried to be a handy woman around the house. I'm not very good at that either. But, I'm hoping this year to be able to develop some more things to find more balance.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, you have the ideas. You have the plan. It's just by placing them in the parts, right?
Exactly.
It's seasons. I'm welcome to Nacogdoches. I do want to say that. Y'all came at the right time. It's about to start being spring season. All the flowers are going to come out, and the animals and things like that. So I'm glad. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, ma'am. So my favorite part, right? Let's go ahead and jump into your career. Okay. How did you get to SFA?
How long do you want me to talk? So here's what I'll say. So my training, my master's and my PhD are in linguistics. Okay. So linguistics is the science of language. It studies all aspects of language, including how we learn language. Right. And what drew me to school to study linguistics was that I was teaching Spanish and realizing that I was a horrible Spanish speaker, and I wanted to improve my Spanish. So I sold my car. I rented my house. I packed up everything I owned and put it in storage, and I moved to Guatemala.
For college?
After college. Okay. This was I was teaching, and I wanted to learn Spanish better. And this was a way to do it.
There we go. All right, just jump straight in.
Yeah, I went to teach. I taught at an international school, but I was teaching people who were native speakers of Spanish who were learning English. And I was just getting curious. I was like, why do you do that with English? What's going on? And my curiosity was greater and greater every year that I taught. And finally, I said, I just have to go learn more. Yeah. So I applied for a master's program in linguistics so I could learn more about how we learn language. And after my master's, I wasn't done. I was like, oh, I still have to know more.
Yes, hungry for knowledge.
I was so hungry. I was starving for knowledge. So I went and did a PhD program. I have a research specialization in second language acquisition, particularly in phonology. So sound systems and accents and how we learn the sound systems of languages. When I finished my PhD, I felt extremely, extremely lucky. I was offered a job in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, which is where I grew up and where all of my family still lived. So I moved back to Texas and I worked at UT Arlington for about 15 years. I was a faculty member at UT Arlington and, was feeling like I needed more balance. I needed to do something different. And that's when I found this position at SFA. So,
wow.
So here I am.
Guatemala, to Dallas, Arlington, now to Nacogdoches. I like it. And linguistics. How do you say it?
Linguistics.
Okay, you got to say it fast, huh?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Now, what is your vision for CTL, the Center for Teaching and Learning?
So, the CTL itself has a vision that we want to serve as collaborators and catalysts in a community that advances teaching and learning. So that's the general vision of the CTL.
The vision board.
But for me, as the director of the CTL, of course, I want that vision. But when I think about what that looks like at SFA, I want us to be a hub for faculty to come and say, oh, I heard about this thing. I want to learn more about it. CTL can help me. I want to be a gathering place. If I had if I could do anything, I'd be like running a little coffee shop for faculty to just come and sit and talk to each other and talk to us about how we can teach and learn better. Because, we're here for students. We're all about student success, but how are students going to be successful if they don't have faculty supporting that? So that's what we want to build student success by building faculty success.
It's that vertical success chain, right? You pour in from the top, it overflows laterally. I like it. Yes, ma'am. UT, she's already been in Arlington. She's here with us now, at SFA. Can, a good coffee hub here at SFA. We're redesigning everything. If we need a refund for the ring, we'll do that. Yes, ma'am. But that's beautiful. I do have to ask you now. Most people don't want to answer this part, but there's challenges in getting things coordinated. I'll be honest with you. I know what it's like, right? So what are the challenges in your position as a director?
So, number one challenge for me in the 6 months that I've been here has revolved around learning a new campus.
Right.
So spending 15 years at one campus, you learn how things are done.
Right.
You know the people to go to get what you want. You know the people to avoid who are going to stand in your way. You know who to ask and how to ask.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of politics in higher education.
You're telling all the secrets.
I knew all of that at my old campus, and I knew the policies and the procedures and how to do things according to the rules. But things work different on different campuses. And so I'm having to figure all of that out. And so I'm constantly saying, well, this is how we used to do it at my previous campus. How does this work here at
Okay. I like that last part. There you go. There you go.
And so I'm asking a lot of questions. I love asking questions, so I don't mind that.
Yeah.
But that's been a challenge, just learning a new campus in addition to learning my new job.
Yes.
Right? Yes. In terms of the job itself, now that I'm feeling more comfortable with my campus and what I do, to me, one of the biggest challenges is thinking about student success by way of faculty. What is it that students want and that students need? And how can we help faculty provide that?
Right.
And find, that innovation, that finding ways to help faculty find that, that's always a challenge, because you know how it is being in a classroom. What works for one professor doesn't always work for another professor. And what works for one student doesn't work for every student. So finding different ways to help different faculty so that all together as a campus we can be successful.
Yes, ma'am. Now, that, even though you say that's a challenge, I say it's a vision, and I like that challenge. It's not one of those like failure challenge. It's something you can shoot for. And
can you have a vision that's not a challenge?
There
Doesn't
you go.
The vision have to be the
vision has to be the challenge. There we go. All right, we're doing great. Now I want to know, what are some exciting initiatives that students and faculty can find from CTL and the Learning Commons?
Okay, so one of the things that we do every year, I don't know how aware students are of this, but faculty are certainly aware. Every August, before the fall semester begins, CTL runs Camp CTL, and we have typically about 3 days. It's kind of like a mini conference. We have 3 days of faculty development sessions where
Okay.
faculty can come and learn all kinds of new stuff. Not only does the CTL present, but we have the provost come
Okay.
and run a panel with faculty. Last year, we had a ton of faculty who came and talked to us about AI and how they're using AI in their classes. We had Dr. Andrew Dees come and talk about how this affected policies on campus. So we have different people on campus come and share with us what they're doing and looking at policies and procedures across the campus. So camp is one of our biggest initiatives. Another initiative that we have currently in progress is that there are some large organizations that offer faculty development that we realize will be helpful for SFA faculty. And so we have been running these programs on our campus. We've recruited faculty into them, and faculty are taking these classes and they're learning more about ways that they can kind of tweak their classroom to work better for their students. And so we're excited to see how that's going to positively impact student success this year with our faculty in that. And then a brand new initiative that I have the draft of on my desk right now is actually for a brand new grad student program. Because, you know, one thing we realize is that not all faculty, when they finish their schooling, know how to teach.
Yeah.
And it's important that we start training faculty how to teach while they're grad students. And so that's the vision behind that. I've been talking with Dr. Forrest Lane and about the need for this on campus. And so I've got a framework for that I'm ready to send over to him and say, hey, here's how I think we can best help our grad students at SFA.
Round of applause. You are skyrocketing. You already have a camp going on. Like, that's amazing to see, just to know that's how people can start getting training. And then we already do a lot of networking to other campuses. So to know that can go to other campuses eventually when we network. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. For my next question, do you have any advice for, educators who are looking to, grow in, education and things, and also, to get in your spot? Like, how do they get there?
They can't have my spot.
Yeah, but, there's other schools.
Right. So, one thing I have to say, in terms of teachers, so I've worked for years. One area of linguistics is called applied linguistics, and that's where we take our knowledge and we apply it in real situations. And so teaching language is part of applied linguistics. So I've been training language teachers for years and years. And my one word of advice that I always give to my students who are training to be teachers is you got to know your students. You have to understand where they're coming from, and you have to understand where they want to go. Because when you know that about your students, you know better what's going to motivate them in the classroom and how you can move them forward and how you can help your students be successful. So that's my word of advice for faculty who want to move forward in their teaching is know your students. And yes, of course, you want to learn techniques, you want to innovate, you want to do those things, but none of those things matter if you don't care about your students.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's the word of advice in terms of just teaching. But in terms of getting into a position like this, you have to do the time as a teacher, right? I have been a teacher for probably way too long. But you have to learn about higher education and about how higher education works. You have to learn about teaching, and you have to learn about learning and how students learn and the best way to teach them. So to get into a position like this, you got to do your homework. Yeah. Right. But then you also have to keep your eyes open, and you have to be willing to make a move. So for a couple years, I've kind of been like, I wonder what else is out there. Right. And I'd keep my eyes open, and I'd go on higher ed jobs and look at what's out there and think about them and think about, is that where I want to be? And what I realized as I started to think was, well, when I think about what I want to be when I grow up, what I really want to do is positively impact student success by working with faculty. And so I started looking, and as I looked, when this job was available, I was like, that's it. Yeah. That's the job that I want, right? Because I had been thinking about it, and I had really thought about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. Yes, ma'am. Okay. My final question before we go. This is sad to say that, but mindset for student development, right? So what is the right mindset for developing students, especially, going into, since
post-COVID?
Ooh. So, in terms of mindset, I am a true believer that we have to believe we can do it and
Okay.
have to believe our students can do it. If I come into a classroom and I'm like, all of these students are going to fail miserably, you know what's going to happen? All of those students are going to fail miserably,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be their fault. It's going to be my fault. Because if I think at the beginning, I think, oh, these students, they're not ready for this class, then I have to adapt. I have to adjust.
Yeah.
I know my students and I know they're not ready. How do I get them ready? I
Mm.
have to fix their readiness
Yeah.
so that they can move forward, so they can be successful. And so to me, it's all about having the right attitude and believing in ourselves, believing in our students, and how we can all be successful together.
Yes,
Because I'm
ma'am.
not successful as a teacher if my students are not successful as students.
Your key message has been that you have to first, feed yourself or get your own mindset right, things like that. If you're motivated, the students are motivated. If you're excited, they're excited. If you're learning, they're wow. So
Absolutely.
that's just how it's gonna be. What
Yeah.
you give is what you get.
That is truly what I think.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Kilpatrick, for joining us and sharing your expertise and vision for the future of teaching and learning. It's been inspiring to hear about the supportive system that are in place at SFA and how they are helping educators and students thrive. Remember, listeners, education is a partnership, and great learning starts with great teaching. Subscribe to the Cheat Sheet. Follow us on social medias and stay connected for more episodes. This is King Musa signing off, reminding you to stay encouraged, stay curious, and keep learning.